Hi everyone, in this video lecture we will be discussing about the event classes in Java. So we have seen the delegation event model and the most important components of delegation event model. There are three components. They are events, event sources and event listeners or event handlers. Here event sources are actually implemented as event classes in Java. So as we can see here, the event classes represent the event. Okay. So there are so many event classes in Java available, but we'll be discussing the most important event class is event object class. Why? Because it is the root class from which all event state objects shall be derived. So whatever may be the event objects that we are going to create, all of them will be inheriting this event object class. So this class is the parent class of all event objects in Java. Okay. So it has got, this is the constructor of that class. We know constructor is actually a method having the same name as that of the class. Here the class name is event object and this method is also having the same name as that of the class. So we can say this is the constructor of this class, and this is one parameter that this method requires. This constructor requires one parameter, and it's the object or instance variable of or reference variable of class object. And this event object class consists of several methods. Among them, most commonly used methods are getSource and toString. So getSource method, see, its return type is again type object, where object is actually a class name. That means this method returns an object of class object. That means this method is going to return the object that created the event, or where the event was initially occurred. And we have another method that is known as toString, and see the return type is string. That means this method returns a string as the result. So here we'll be getting the output of this method will be string representation of the event object. So these are the two methods that comes under this event object class. So these are the various event classes that are available in Java. So we have action event, adjustment event, component event, container event, focus event, input event, item event. Likewise, there are so many events. So we will not be discussing all of them. A brief description about each of these event classes are there in the notes I have provided to you. So each event from several event classes, it will be more clear from the name itself. For example, key event, it means it is related to keyboard. Whenever we press a key on the keyboard, this event class deals with it. Similarly, mouse event is used for handling the mouse events. Mouse wheel event also. For example, whenever the mouse is moved or mouse is dragged, this mouse wheel event class is the one that throws the event. So these are the I think that 12 event classes here. So we will not be discussing each and every one, but there's discussion about each and every class is there in the notes. So basically we know that a class is actually a collection of methods and so many variables that you know. We often write Java programs and we often include so many methods in a program. So actually a class, the first thing that we have to do in Java programming is to write a class. A class means it is the feature that provides encapsulation in Java. So it encapsulates all the methods and data the method accesses. Okay, so we can say a class is a group of class contains, inside a class we have so many methods and so many variables. Why I am saying like this? Because each of these is a class. Action event is a class, adjustment event is a class, component event is a class, container event is a class. So each of these event is a class. So in the we will be seeing each class in detail. So when we talk about each class, what we have to explain is what are the methods that are included in that class, what are the constant variables that are available in that class. That is what we are going to see next. So first of all, have an idea. A class is actually a collection of a class includes so many methods and so many variables. So each of these class will be having so many methods as well as so many variables. That is what we are going to see next. So the first event class is action event class. See how it is written, action event. There is no space in between action and event. The words they are together, and the first letter of both of them are capital. That's a naming convention used in Java. If you are writing Java class name, the first letter must be capital, and if there are two words, then there should not be any space between the words, and the first letter of both words must be capital. That is the naming convention used in Java. Now when this action event class work, or when we require this action event class required when a button is clicked or an item of a list is double clicked. Like such events are handled by this action event class, and all these are variables or constant, we can say identifier modifiers available inside the class action event. Here alt mask means whether the alt key is pressed, control mask means whether it is pressed, control key is pressed, shift mask meta key is pressed, or shift key is pressed. All of them are indicated by these variables. Then we have a method named get modifiers. Its return type is int. So what does this get modifier do? Anyway, it's clear from here that its return type is integer. That means this method is going to return an integer. So what is the value returned by this method? This method returns the modifier keys held down during this action event. So when the action occurred, for example when I clicked a button, whether any of the modifier keys, that is alt, control, meta, shift, whether any of these keys were pressed when I clicked the button, that is what meant by this get modifiers. So get modifiers will be returning the value of any of these variables, modifier variables, so that we'll be able to know whether any of these keys were pressed when we clicked the button, that is when the event occurred. Then we have another method inside the same class, that is long get when. So as the name indicates, you can see it is get. We can see the word get. Get means to retrieve the value. So get modifier means we are actually getting the modifier back. So get when means we are actually something getting back. So this method is actually returning the timestamp, that is when the event occurred. So the return type is mentioned as long, so it's also again an integer. So the timestamp will be returned as a long integer here. That is why the return type is given as long. This is about action event class. Similarly, there are so many other classes. That's what we are going to see next class. But keep in mind, in all classes we have so many methods. It may have constructor, it may have some methods, it may have some constant variables like these variables inside this class. So whenever you are asked to explain about event classes in Java, you have to, altogether there are 12 classes. It won't be possible to study all the 12 classes, so at least study 6 or 7 classes and explain each of the methods. What's the use of the method inside a class, what are the variables available, and what is their purpose, etc. That is what we have to do. Next class we are going to discuss is about adjustment event class, and this event occurs whenever we use a scroll bar. We know that there are two types of scroll bars. They are vertical and horizontal scroll bar. Whenever we use a scroll bar, this adjustment event occurs. This is the constructor of this class adjustment event. See how many parameters are there. 1, 2, 3 and 4 parameters are there. Here adjustable src means the reference to the object that generated the event. Which object created this event? Anyway, this constructor will be invoked when the event was generated. So which object actually created this event? That is what we mean by the first parameter. Int id means specify, again we will be giving some id to the event. Then type, the type of the adjustment. Then that means whether it is type means you can see here there are 5 types of adjustment. So among these, which type of adjustment was made? That's what we mean by this third parameter, type. Then data, how many units of movement took place? That is what we mean by the fourth parameter. Now there are 5 types of adjustments. It can be block decrement or block increment, then track, unit decrement and unit increment. So we often use scroll bars in different ways. Either there will be a slider and we will be clicking on the slider and we will be dragging it. Okay, so the amount of units the slider moves will depend upon how much we are dragging the mouse. That is known as block decrement, block increment. Track means slider was dragged. Unit decrement and unit increment means uh, we know that there are two arrows. At one end there will be one arrow and the other end there will be one arrow. If you are clicking that arrow, the slider will be moving a single unit. That is known as unit decrement and unit increment. So these are the 5 types of adjustment events available. Okay, then these are 2 methods that are available inside the class adjustment event. They are get adjustable and get adjustment type. So get adjustable method returns the object that generated the event. Which object actually created this event will be returned by this method. And get adjustment type means type of the adjustment. Okay, that is among these 5 which type of adjustment was made. That is what this method is going to return. So that is about adjustment event. You have to go through the notes that I have given to you to get a better knowledge in this class. The next is input event class. First of all, you have to make a point, that is, you have to remember it's an abstract class. That means this class consists of so many, at least one abstract method. A class is said to be abstract if that class consists of at least one abstract method. So this class is actually an abstract class. Okay, and this class is actually a subclass of component class. So we know that we have studied in the abstract class that is abstract classes. We cannot create objects of abstract class, but they are mainly used for acting as a parent class. So here input event class is an abstract class and it acts as a parent class for key event and mouse event class. And these are some of the variables available inside the input event class. Alt mask, button 1 mask is for indicating whether the mouse button 1 is pressed or not. Control mask is used for indicating whether the control button is pressed or not, etc. Then these are some of the methods available inside the input event class. There are so many methods available, but it's just only some of them. Is alt down means whether the alt key is down or not. Is control down means whether the control key is down or not. All these methods are there inside the input event class. Next we have item event class. This event is generated when we select one item from a checkbox or when we select a checkbox. Hope all of you know what a checkbox is. One square shaped box, and when we select any item, a tick mark will be made there. Such boxes are known as checkbox. So when we select one item from the list or when we click on a checkbox, this event will be generated. Okay, so there are 2 types of item events. So either an item can be selected or deselected. So there are 2 types of events that can take place inside this event class. Then there is the constant variable and it signifies a change of state. So items, whether an item was already selected and when we click it again it gets deselected, so that means a change occurred. Or else if the item is unselected initially and when we click on it the item gets selected, that means again the state is changed. So this item state changed variable, it's a constant or it's a variable, actually it's a modifier. So this variable will be indicating the change in state. Then this is the constructor of this class, item event. See, the method name and class name are same, so that means a constructor, and there are all to the 4 parameters. Source means which object created this event. Type means type of event, whether selected or deselected. Entry means specific item that generated the item event. Then state means what's the current state of that item, whether it was deselected or whether it is selected. That's what we mean by the state parameter. Next we have key event class. So this is what we have to use when we deal with the keyboard. Whenever I key pressed on the keyboard, this class gets executed. So 3 types of key events are there: key pressed, key released, and key typed. Here key pressed, whenever we press a key, it's known as key pressed. Key released means whenever we release a key, when we pressed a key and released it, that is our key released. Key typed means whether when we pressed the key a character is actually entered. So we know that all characters will not input a character. For example, if we press the shift key, it is not going to enter any character towards the system. It's a button pressed and released. So but at the same time, if you are pressing a alphabet letter S or A, when you press that key, actually an alphabet is getting entered to the computer. That means a character is entered. So in that case, it is mentioned by the variable or the event key typed. Then for all number keys, we have a virtual key modifier. So like virtual key codes, VK stands for virtual key. For numbers 0 to 9, we have VK underscore 0 to VK underscore 9. For small letters, we have VK capital A to VKZ. All those are for alphabets. So actually they are actually constants. They actually specify virtual key codes, and they are independent of any modifiers. Modifiers in the sense whether we are pressing shift or caps lock or tab, these values will not get changed. You can see so many virtual key codes available here: VK alt, VK cancel, VK console. This is actually used to identify which key was pressed or which key is pressed or whether which character gets entered into computer. For all those things, we will have to deal with this class. Next is a mouse event class. So we have 8 types of mouse events here. Mouse is clicked, mouse is dragged, mouse, and all these are constants or modifiers or variables. Each of the 8 types of events are indicated by these variables. Mouse clicked, in that case this variable will be having a value. Mouse dragged, in that case if the mouse is dragged, then this variable is going to have some value. Similarly, mouse entered, mouse exited, mouse moved, mouse pressed, mouse released, and mouse wheel. Okay, see the constructor of mouse event class. We have the object that created the event, then what type of event is that, and which among these 8 events is the event that occurred, then when did that event occur, that's the modifier, and then the timestamp. Then modifiers means which modifiers were pressed, that is whether caps lock or alt or shift or control key was pressed when this event occurred. Then index and int y, they are actually used for getting the coordinates or location of the mouse click. Where does the mouse clicked? In order to get the exact point, we are using index and int y. Then int clicks, how many clicks were made, whether it is double click or single click. Then boolean triggers a pop-up, that is whether when we clicked the mouse a pop-up was triggered or not. So it's a boolean value. So when we when we made a click using mouse, whether a pop-up was made, in that case this value will be true, otherwise this value will be false. And 2 commonly used methods in mouse event class are getX and getY. It is used for getting the coordinates. Suppose the user clicked the mouse on the screen. Suppose we want to get the coordinates where the mouse was clicked. We can call these methods getX and getY. Will get the location at which the user clicked the mouse on the screen. So these were some of the event classes in Java. So always remember, events or event sources are actually implemented as classes in Java. So a class in Java consists of so many methods and so many variables. So each of these event classes consists of so many methods and variables. That is what we saw just now. So whenever you are asked to write about event classes in Java, it is usually asked in university questions as an essay question, that is explain some of the event classes in Java. In that case, we have to explain at least 5 or 6 event classes. So you have to study about what's an event class, then how many, for each event class, which are the methods available inside the class, which are the variables available, what are the purpose of those variables, and how the each method inside the class work, etc. The next video lecture we will see event listeners. That means when an event occurs, this event class is the source. It will generate the event and it will pass the event information to the event listeners. Event listeners are the ones who process the event. So that is what we are going to see in the next video lecture. That's all for today. Thank you so much.